Welcome back to the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold podcast, everybody. I want to share my excitement for having this week's guest on. Roz Ware is an expert in the masculine and the feminine energy dynamics, as well as a huge fan of astrology. And on a recent Facebook post, prompted my excitement to reach out to her and have her on as a follow-up interview. I'll read a little bit from the recent blog post that inspired today's conversation. And she begins with saying, "You won't be a man's number one priority." And she acknowledges how hard that statement was to write. It's pretty heartless. But for a truly deep connection with your man, it's a perspective shift you need to explore. And Roz and I explore that very deeply today in today's podcast episode. If you want to connect with her, please do so on Facebook at Roz Ware. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share a little bit more about what the Believe, Be Real, Be Bold private group coaching is all about. And the other day, when speaking to the group, I felt as if we needed a little bit more of an identity. So what we came up with as a collaborative group effort was to come up with a mission and a vision and an identity for who we are in the group. And I want to read that to you guys now. When you join our private group virtual coaching every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, you will become a part of an inclusive community that believes self-awareness and personal growth are the keys to having a fulfilled life. We believe that there is more to life than repeating old patterns and reopening old wounds. We believe that independence and interdependence can live harmoniously within ourselves and others. We believe that living boldly and vulnerably is the only way to discovering our authentic selves. And that's something that our group came up with as a team to kind of define what the experience has been so far. This coming Tuesday, September 8th, we are inviting a special guest, Dr. Liz Fedrick, to come in and speak to the group in an open house, as Dr. Fedrick guides us through how attachment styles affect us in our current modern relationships. If you're interested in joining us for the open house on September 8th, please direct message me on Instagram with your email address, and I'll send you the calendar invite. Don't miss out because we're only opening it up to a few of our listeners. We are sponsored by the Center for Shared Insight and Dr. Kristen Hick and her team of doctor-level psychologists specialize in relationship and women's health and provide excellent therapeutic care to clients of all walks of life. You can contact them with questions and take the first step to healing, strengthening, and transforming your relationship with yourself and with others. If you're looking for additional support right now in that area, please reach out to Dr. Kristen Hick at the centerforsharedinsight.com. Without further delay, let's get into today's episode with Roz Ware. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am pleased to bring back one of my good friends, Roz Ware. And the reason I'm bringing you back is a very poignant post that you made on Facebook last week that kind of ruffled some feathers. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about it.
It was pretty polarizing. And I think I was pretty intentional about that with the title. And the title was, "You Won't Be a Man's Top Priority."
Mm-hmm.
And so it was quite hard to write that. But one of the things that I see, especially with the women that I work with and who are women like me, is that the number one thing that breaks down and pushes, like separates a couple, is when there's this dissonance between a woman really wanting to be a man's top priority, and if they're attracted to a super masculine man just like myself, it's actually the thing that really pushes him away, and it's the thing that makes us come across as super needy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no woman wants to be needy, right? Like, that's the thing that we really avoid. We don't want to do that. But when a masculine man who is driven by purpose, that is one of the reasons why we adore him and why we want to be with him. A man that challenges us, and makes us rise up, an ambitious man, like that's sexy for us, right? And yet sometimes it can also be the thing that creates neediness inside of us.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me a little bit, let's clarify just a little bit of how you mean that a woman won't be a man's top priority because of that purpose. That's why it resonated with me so much.
You're a man driven by purpose, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
So my intention with that post is to show you that when that is your intention, it's going to cause the opposite effect of your intention. So if you really want it, if you want to be a man's top priority and you're attracted to a masculine man, the opposite is going to happen. Because the more we try and pull someone in or try and get someone to do that, it's going to push them away.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically the intention of it. The less that you try and be his top priority, because the more attraction that you're going to create. And I was talking to a client about this recently, and they're planning a wedding, and he just wanted to go out and hunt. He's a hunter, super masculine.
Literally, or is this a metaphor?
No, he's really. And he didn't want to do any wedding planning. He wanted to go out and hunt. And she was like, but if you go out and hunt that and you're not prioritizing the wedding, that makes me feel really unloved. That makes me feel like you just don't care. So please come home and help me plan the wedding. And he was like, I can't. I've got to go and do this. Like, please understand. And so there's this giant separation. And so after just talking to her a little bit about it and just saying, like, you love your masculine man, right? And she goes, yeah, I love that he's a hunter. I love that he takes care of business. He calls it TCBing, taking care of business.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, well, then we need to love this part about him. I love the fact that he's out there hunting right now and he's doing his masculine thing. She even got the kids involved, like, Daddy's a masculine man. And everyone was like, super cute. And in that moment, by just saying, this is actually a reason why you love him and adore him and why you're so attracted to him. And she immediately was just able to soften and be like, this doesn't mean that he doesn't love me. This doesn't mean that he doesn't care about the wedding. I can, for now, in this moment, it doesn't matter whether he helps me now or tomorrow or the day after or next week. I can let him go and do his thing right now. And as soon as she let him go and do that, he came swooping back in. And she was giving him all of these ideas. Like, she was kind of taking control with the wedding. He was like, perfect, great, amazing. And the beauty of that was that she was just able to relax. And it wasn't about whether she was the priority or not. There was just love. So
yeah, definitely.
It's not so much that you don't, you're not going to be his top priority. It's like, just let it go and soften, because feminine energy, to be a real energetic match for a masculine man, if you want a driven man, ambitious man, you are going to have to be really rooted in your feminine energy. And feminine energy is a present energy. It's a relaxed energy. And so the more that you can soften around that, the more he's going to be like, baby, come get me. I want you. Take me now. Yeah.
It sounded like her request was more around support as opposed to being like the number one priority.
Yeah, support, but also that she just really felt that she didn't matter to him, that she was irrelevant. Like, oh, you'd rather go outside than be with me? Like, am I really that unspecial to you? Do I not mean anything to you? And that's the thing I think that women find hard really to accept. But accept this, is that that's not how a man's brain works. A man doesn't think, just because I'm going out and doing my purpose work doesn't mean that I don't love you. But feminine minds naturally come to that conclusion. They're like, oh, I need you right now. I need you. Like, I'm in pain right now and you're not coming to my call. Do I not mean anything to you? And he's like, I just want to go out and hunt. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. Like, that's all this is, you know? So I think it's just men's brains and women's brains work differently. But I think whoever it is, whether you are the man or the woman, both of you just taking responsibility and just, I mean, even like in this example today, just soften and just accept, you know what, this doesn't mean that he doesn't love me, but I'm going to take responsibility right now and just see that this is one of the reasons why I love him. Yeah.
And we're not talking about just the initial short-term attraction that brings two people together. We're talking about long-term attraction also.
Absolutely. Like this is what, like I said at the beginning, like when there's that neediness there, that attachment, that's what creates separation. And we want to create connection. So when we understand the primal desires of a man and provide him what he also wants in the relationship, that's what keeps this relationship growing
Mm-hmm.
and that honeymoon vibe continuing, because you're tapping into desire, a primal desire, like that obsession sort of vibes, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what enables you to extend out more, like a honeymoon sort of period vibe, because you are tapping into something deeply primal.
Mm-hmm. And the man's purpose may not always be hunting. It may be his profession. It may be his sport that he chooses to play. It may be his number one hobby, like a car guy or a collector, or um, it could be even an intellectual level too. Like my purpose in life is to uncover the truth behind anything. What is your thing, you know? And that could be the man's purpose. So the purpose is interchangeable, whether it's hunting or learning or earning.
Yeah, or helping humanity, or a scientist trying to discover what the cure for cancer is, whatever it may be. Like purpose is just something that every man, and purpose is present in every human being, man or woman. But for a man, I believe it goes to a whole new level, because for me that is what his priority is, but it also means that he has that purpose for you as a woman. Like he's going out there and doing his thing so that he can provide for you. When I first like started upgrading the kind of men that I was calling in, they would break down because they just wouldn't kind of go off the launch pad because they didn't feel like they had anything to offer me. And if a man doesn't feel like he has anything to offer you, he's not a man, or that's at least how he processes that. I don't feel like a man, therefore I have nothing to offer you. I can't be the full expression of who I am. I can't feel good about myself being around you. But also as well, if a man isn't like leading with his purpose, the feminine, she can't respect the masculine. So although we might want him to prioritize us over his purpose work, when that actually does happen, you start to reject him because you don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a feminine woman, you want a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not leading and going out there and doing his thing, it's not as attractive for us. If he was just always dropping everything for you, it would start to, like, you know, what's the, when you get what you want, sometimes it's not actually, the grass isn't actually that greener on the other side. You're like, oh, where's the passion gone? Where's my desire for him gone? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the purpose with that content was to just say that just drop the need to be his number one thing, because it's actually going to be a thing that you don't want anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I was having a conversation last week. It was right around the same time that you made that post, and definitely resonated with me a lot. I was describing my relationships in my 20s and my early 30s, and I actually used the words of like, my relationship was not my top priority. Building my business was, so that my purpose, which is to share the benefits of fitness and nutrition for mental health, is my top priority. And while I had those two long-term relationships during my early 30s, it was almost like smoother, easier, autopilot, because I was chasing my purpose and the feminine energy was chasing me.
Ooh, and you like that?
I do, in this context of a really clever phrasing that says men chase championships, women choose champions.
Ooh, yes, 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 yes. Exactly.
And when he's no longer a champion, that's when you lose the spark. That's when you lose the fire, and that's when it becomes boring.
Exactly. That, I mean, as a feminine woman, that's what you want in a man, and you need that spark. But I love that women chase.
Mm-hmm.
No, women choose.
Choose champions. Yeah. Yeah. It comes back to a book called Men Chase, Women Choose. And it's within the same context of like, he's hunting, he's chasing his championship, he's chasing his purpose, and women choose that man.
Mm. And I personally don't like the word chase, because, as you know, if I'm looking at my man who is a leader, I don't expect him to chase anything. I expect him to hunt. So my man hunts me down, and he makes it very apparent that he desires me and that he wants me. And then it's my job to let him know that I am very open to that. And I think this, I don't know if this is an appropriate discussion for this podcast, but I think in that moment, it is the feminine's job to express genuinely how she feels. Because I think people have such a tough time, well, women, sorry, have such a tough time being genuine and not playing hard to get around a man. And if you're playing hard to get around a man, you are not only stopping the connection, but usually those relationships will fizzle out because you're not being yourself and you're not being genuine. And so when I say express yourself, I mean be genuine. Like, tell him how you really feel, because primal desire, like a man is coming at you with primal desire, right? With his, I want you, I'm going to claim you kind of energy.
And hunt and
yes, exactly. But what really sparks even more of this primal calling inside of him is you responding with your primal desire as well, being like, yeah, you take me. Like, you showing him that you want him to only ignites the fires even more. If it's the right guy for you, it will fuel those fires. Like, primal desires, for me, like, if you understand primal desire, you can create chemistry and connection and intense chemistry immediately. Because I also believe that if there isn't immediate chemistry, it's probably not going to work.
I understand that. Yeah, completely. And that's one of the things that I hear from you often is your shift in your own energy and your own primal desire to leave behind the guys that weren't ready to step up. So they excuse themselves from the situation, and you are calling in a more masculine man. And you reference this a lot, and it's a compliment I want to pay you, is that you're owning that.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'm Sagittarian, so it's very Sagittarian to, like, it used to be like shiny object syndrome. So it'd be like, oh, this one's better, oh, this one's better, and never finding any fulfillment. But it morphed into this, I expect the best for myself and I have high standards for myself. And even just saying that, like that's a vibe. And that's something that you can feel from another person. If they expect the best for themselves, that's, you immediately, the value of that person automatically will raise in your eyes if they want the best for themselves. And so I just have that, like, I want the best for myself. And I think by saying no, you keep raising your value on top of that. So not only if you know primal desire, does that increase your value? Because when a man knows that you understand him, he will, like, something will activate inside of him. Not only when you want the best for yourself, does that raise your value even more? And not only by saying no to the things that you don't want, that will keep raising your value. And I promise you, if you are devoted to that, the more you say no instantly, because you've created a space, and the next one will come in. It happens every time. Like, a lot of my friends would used to say to me all the time, are you sure? Like, why don't you just give it a little bit longer and just, like, you know, I don't want you to miss out, Roz. And I'm like, I'm not missing out. Don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing because I know what I want and I want the best for myself. And immediately, boom, the next one comes in because I've created that space. I'm not clinging on and thinking, I'll just kind of keep him in the background until a better one comes along, because you'll stay in limbo land. You won't move forward.
Mm-hmm. And it's not genuine either. It's not authentic to think like that, to choose like that.
No, it's not loving. It's not
Yeah.
nice to be on the other end of that either, is
Yeah. Yeah.
it?
You're saying a few words in there that really pique my interest. You're saying no, which sounds like you're creating a boundary, but you're doing it in a loving way.
Because there's a difference between, I believe, a boundary and a standard. So a boundary, usually people, here's the kind of typical person that will set a boundary. So it's a single woman. She's very like strong, successful, independent. She's been single for a while. I'm single probably because I let losers into my life and it's not working. So I need to raise the bar on the kind of guy that I call in. So I'm going to set a boundary. But I don't know if you were watching my stories the other day, like what you need in that moment is not a boundary. Like you need to increase your feminine radiance so you can have more of a choice of the men that come in. What needs to happen there is more of a standard. Like I want the best for myself, and this is the bar that I'm playing at, because a boundary is almost like cutting myself off. It's like a barricade to intimacy. And if you want deep intimacy and you want that sexual fire and attraction, you're going to have to open yourself up, not close yourself off and restrict. Set the bar high and open your heart. Express yourself. Be who you really are.
So are you saying that your standards have boundaries included in there?
Yes. I guess they're kind of a similar thing though, aren't they? When you think, or when you kind of describe it, a standard with a boundary.
Yeah. Let me ask a more clarifying question.
Okay.
So when I have high standards, that determines what kind of a person I call into my life.
Yeah.
Right. And if somebody who doesn't meet that standard comes into my life, the word no, thank you, I'm not going to go out with you, is a boundary. So standard is here when something that doesn't match that standard comes into my life. No, thank you. There's my boundary that's included within the standard.
Perfect. There we go. A tip on boundaries and standards from Dave. I love it.
I do a lot of work around personal boundaries, and you're absolutely correct that sometimes you can hold so strictly to a boundary that it becomes a wall. But I prefer to think of boundaries more as like not walling people off from access to you. It's just showing them where the door is.
Ooh.
And it's showing them in a loving way how you want to be loved as well. And I want to go just a little bit deeper in the standards. So let's say that a primal divine energy wants to raise her standards. So she, so this feminine energy raises her standard and is putting in place a personal boundary of like, I won't accept this behavior. And during the selection process, during the choosing process, if this man shows up initially, maybe like on first impression to meet that standard, but maybe along the way of like 5, 6, 7 dates in, start to kind of see the chinks in the exposing of not meeting that standard anymore. Okay, well, you presented yourself as one person the first 2 or 3 dates, but now I'm starting to see a little bit more of maybe some character that doesn't match that standard. And now in this choosing and selection process, we need to set a boundary that says, are you to that standard, or are you just pretending? Are you truly in your primal divine masculine? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally. And I think from my point of view and perspective, so I was talking about something kind of similar, an example to kind of expand on this. Like a woman came to me this morning and said, oh, how do you deal with all of the spammers that come in your inbox and just send you like naughty pictures and just say, hey, beautiful, how you doing? She's like, I can't deal with it. And she goes, how many do you get? And I said, none. I literally don't get a single message from a man trying to be sleazy. And it's not because necessarily I have a boundary. It's actually because I'm okay with it. Weirdly, like if someone wants to send that kind of message to me, I'm not going to do anything about it, but it doesn't piss me off. And the more that I was okay with it, like unbothered, the less that I saw it. And so I was like, there's something in this when it comes to boundaries. It's more just like, for me, it's just focusing on what it is that I do want.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than being like, you can't be like this. It's more like a standard for me is something that I set for myself. And because I'm being that wholly and truly, it then encourages the other person automatically to come and rise up to my level. Like it's like leading by example, you know, like inspiring that person to meet me there. And so in some ways, like when you truly embody that standard, it's like you don't necessarily have to have all of those conversations about red flags and things, because you've attracted in a person who is an energetic match for the person that you are being right now. And that's not to say that this is always going to be perfect, that you're always going to meet the right guy who ticks all of the boxes and is perfect energetic match, because that's not how we grow.
Mm-mm.
But I think
Nor is
that's
it how the universe sends us lessons either.
no. And where's the fun in that, right? If
Yeah.
things didn't mess up. So yeah, that's kind of how like I see standards and boundaries, is that I'm not so focused on my boundaries. I'm like, I'm focused on the more that I want over here. And if you can't meet me there, I'm a moving train. You can jump on this moving train, but I'm going in this direction. And if you don't want to join me, I'm really not going to be sad about it.
Yeah. Yeah. What I think I'm hearing you say is that those inappropriate messages or those pictures that are below your standard, well, they certainly don't meet your standard. So you're not even going to give it attention, which gives it power.
Mm.
So when you have moved on so quickly of like, oh, that's curious, bye, then that behavior doesn't reach your standard. So therefore, what I think you're saying is that you don't need to set a boundary there because you're not giving it any power.
Totally.
Which means you're not giving it any attention.
Totally. And also because if you're focused on your purpose, and if you're focused on the love that you do have, or the relationships that even if they're just platonic for now, and you're focused on how amazing they are, it's almost like it doesn't matter if I get a random message every now and then, because it doesn't mean anything to me. And so the less that you focus on it, the more it just stops happening. So the more angry you get about it. It's just kind of like the same thing with a guy. Like, I fucking hate how he just leaves crumbs over the work surface when I've cleaned. Like, the more angry you get about it, believe me, the more he's going to meet you there. And it's kind of like the same for men as well. Like, the more you don't want to see a particular emotion in a woman, say, for example, she gets angry a lot, the more that you resist her being in that emotion, believe me, the more she is going to keep butting heads with you and bringing that energy to the relationship. Like, you need to be able to work with a woman when she's going through those emotions. And so in those moments, I'm going off on a tangent here, but in those moments, what is super powerful as a man, if you can take the stance of, I'm not responsible for how you feel right now, but I am sure as hell gonna let you express yourself and hold space for you right now. Like, that's basically just letting a woman express herself.
Right.
So you don't keep
Yeah.
me the same energy. Sorry, tangent.
No, I enjoy the tangent. Actually, I have some things to contribute too. Like the masculine energy is like a mountain, and the feminine is like the clouds that just engulfs the mountain, and it flows and it circles and it winds around. And that anger that you're talking about is much like the storm, but the mountain is unfuckwithable.
Oh, I love an unfuckwithable man.
Right? And the unfuckwithable man is not going to be bothered by the DMs. He's not going to be bothered by those that don't meet his standard, because his purpose is rock solid like the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other swirling energy that comes around him
Yes.
does not fuck with the grounding that he has over here.
That is a seriously sexy man as well. Being unfuckwithable. And it's also a seriously sexy woman as well. Like if you can maintain and control your emotions whilst also like desiring unity, but also desiring a big sense of self, that is super hot for the masculine as well.
Mm-hmm. Now let's diverge just a little bit. Let's talk about a woman, the feminine energy that has such a strong purpose. How does she shift out, or how does she draw in the masculine energy that also has a strong purpose, and they don't battle against each other?
I don't think I personally, I mean, I'm a woman with very strong purpose. So I have very strong feminine energy, but I have a lot of strong masculine energy inside of me as well. But I actually really thrive with a man who has strong masculine essence, because we both get each other. We both understand that, oh, you need to go and do your thing. Totally get it. I'm giving you the space to do that. So I don't think that there's necessarily a clash there. I think it's just knowing yourself enough so that you know what you need in a relationship. Because I mean, you are into Enneagram stuff, aren't you? I'm the achiever, so I've got a lot of masculine in my chart, so I need an extra masculine man to be able to take on that as well, to keep me in my feminine, because I can't overpower him. Like if I'm the one with the bigger purpose than him, then I lose respect in the masculine. I just walk all over him and it doesn't work. There's no sexual chemistry. It's just a friend for me at the end of the day. So I think it's just knowing what kind of energies are really like strong inside of you and what would be a good fit and match for that.
Yeah, that totally resonates with me, that the achiever, yeah, definitely purpose driven. And I really appreciate you remembering that from our first conversation a few months ago, that I could definitely see how it equates to a masculine energy. And you're right, we both have feminine and masculine within us. And when the achiever gets purpose driven and eyes on the prize, for sure, especially a female achiever needs that masculine energy to create even more space for her to develop and to grow and to produce on that purpose.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, the way I run business is totally different to the way a man runs business, and that's exactly how it should be. So it's definitely not in a masculine way, but I definitely love the input from a masculine man as well. Like I have a lot of sort of men in masterminds with me as well who support me, because I love that masculine fire. So it's not just about feminine support for me, it's also about masculine. So yeah, just knowing who you are helps with who you call in.
Yeah, totally respect that we can draw that fire and that energy from the polarity in the room, or the similarity in the room too, especially when it comes to business, but less so in a relationship, because you said that when your purpose is stronger than the masculine energy in your relationship, you're going to walk all over him and you're going to lose respect for him. And I believe that that's a contributor to a lot of dysfunction in modern relationships, is the people-pleasing masculine energy just being owned by this feminine energy partner.
And also, quickly, to make the distinction as well, like it doesn't mean that if you make more money than your man, then that is going to destroy the connection. Not at all. But if you're, because I see tons of entrepreneurs out there and they're female sort of led businesses, and they've got their husbands in to kind of fuel the rocket, so to speak. That works, because for me, like, I love your mountain example. For me, I also have a similar example. It's kind of like the feminine is at the front of the ship, and she's like, darling, look at that island, like, take me there, like, let's go over there. And the masculine is like, I'm on it, I'm gonna take you there. So he's like driving her there, he's providing the framework, he's providing the structure, and he's pouring that masculine energy onto her vision, onto her desire to go to that particular island, right? And so I think those relationships do work where you can still earn more than your husband. It doesn't mean that it's not going to work, but he needs to be like just as the same, or if not more, fueled by the purpose in your business or in what he is purposely doing.
Yeah, I could definitely resonate with the analogy, and a real world application of that is like, say a man is a teacher. You know, teachers reputably don't make a whole lot of money, but that can be a really strong purpose. You mentioned earlier humanity. And I don't think that people go into teaching for the money. They go into it for giving back and supporting their students and be an example as a lifelong learner. That's a hell of a strong purpose, but not necessarily a financially rewarding career path.
Yeah.
And his wife could be just as strong on her purpose as a nurse, or as something that's just as purposeful in serving other people, but will out earn a teacher.
Love that.
So let me ask you a question about your ship analogy. So the feminine energy is in the bow of the boat, and she's like, take me to that island. I can't say it as sweetly as you did because you have the accent, but what if the masculine energy knows that that's not the direction that they need to go? He's driving the ship, right?
Yeah, he's driving the ship. And I think when there's synergy in a relationship, like that will either be a point where like the masculine will see the feminine and be like, I know that is going to be the thing that makes her so fucking happy, and I want to see that pretty smile on her face. And so he fulfills it, right? But that's also when the masculine can step in and be like, baby, I know there's some like things that are probably going, or maybe he just knows this in the back of his mind, that there are some things going on in life right now that are making her decisions a little bit distorted. And so he's well in his right to step in and be like, I don't think this is right for you. And in all honesty, who doesn't love a man who puts his foot down? I love a man who puts his foot down and, you know, takes control and takes the lead, because if he doesn't say anything in those moments, that's not him following through with his leadership. Therefore, the feminine is going to distrust the masculine. So if you have an inkling, bring it up, because a relationship, like the depth of your relationship, is based upon how open you can be with each other. And openness in itself is one hell of a sexy thing, because when you truly feel liberated around someone to really be yourself and really say those things, that can be sexy as hell. Like, fuck, I feel so free and limitless in front of this person, you know? It's a safety thing. So if you have a doubt, then say it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that coming up for sure. And we're kind of referencing the intuition and the instincts that it's going to take for both the feminine and the masculine to trust that they're headed in the right direction, or trust that this person is the right person for them. So earlier when you're talking about a man not meeting your standards, and he's going to instinctively know that if he's tuning into his intuition and he's not numbing out with other things like overworking, spreading himself too thin, you know, that those are things that prevent a man from trusting those instincts and the intuition. And a man who's tuned into those, the masculine energy that's tuned into those instincts and intuitions, will excuse himself from a relationship that he knows he's not man enough for.
Yeah, well, especially the men that I've been in relationships with, because they are so masculine. As soon as there is that dissonance, they lose faith in themselves and they'll just almost like ghost. They're gone. Sometimes without even a word, because they're just too ashamed. Like, it's too painful to not be able to show up and do the masculine, the right thing, and say, I'm sorry, I'm not in a good place right now. They're literally just ghost, which is sad. But yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
And the feminine in response to that can also be unfuckwithable, of like understanding and being reaffirmed and being validated that like, Holy fuck. My standards are now here because this man that I thought had great potential excused him from the situation
Mm.
because he knew instinctively, intuitively that he wasn't going to rise up to my standards.
Mm. Well, it can go one of either two ways, can't it? Like it can go from, what's wrong with me? Like, why did
Mm-hmm.
he just ignore me? Or it can go in the other direction of, I'm now even more aware of the fact that this man has to be absolutely crazy about me for me to even be remotely interested in him. And so it does raise your value. And I think also the things that go wrong in your relationships are actually really good indicators of what you need in a relationship in general. And so if he's just kind of flaking on you for whatever reason that may be, that becomes a part of the, oh, this is what's actually really important for me in the next relationship. And you can use that as fuel for the next to get to or manifest the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Now, let me ask you from your perspective as the feminine energy that you're so in tune with, you've got your instincts and your intuition on point. So let's just say that if the feminine energy realizes that this masculine isn't masculine enough for her, how does she tap into those instincts and intuition and set the boundary? Now that her standards are high, how does she set that boundary and excuse herself from that?
Number one, I had to go through this recently, so I had to do a inhale breath. So I was like, oh, that one hurt. In those moments, you do need to get real with yourself and not necessarily cut him off, but be like, is there actually an intimacy block here? Am I actually stopping myself being more expressive around him, which is why he's not leading? Am I not talking more about what it is that I need in a relationship? Is there a reason why this is happening? Because I think if you are in a relationship, we need to be having those open conversations. So I think you need to get real with yourself. Like, is this actually me? Because it was me in this recent example. It wasn't him at all. But I think in those moments, yes, there is a tendency to want to say, nope, this is not for me, I'm gone. But I think with that no, you're always super certain in that no, because there'll be a very definite point of where it's like, nope, I'm done. So for me, I tap into, well, is this me or is it him? Usually you're always the source of it, not him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just asking myself, like, is this really what I want? And I find if you're asking yourself, is this really what I want? You're uncertain about it. And so you're not in the best position to make a really firm decision right now. But the more clear you get on about what it is that you really want, that's when the moment will hit you like a ton of bricks and you'll just know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you just say goodbye. So
Yeah.
usually it's a little bit of work to do before.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be a very definite moment where you're like, oh God, okay, yeah, I need out, I need to go, but I need to be as kind about it as possible.
Right. When a woman leaves you for herself, she won't be back.
Ooh.
And I want to call back to something that you said earlier that ties into really what we were just trying to what I heard you saying right now is that you needed to take a look at yourself here. Am I blocking the intimacy because I'm not being as open and expressive with my partner as the divine feminine can and should be? Now, let's go deeper into that because I've heard it twice now in our conversation of like, when you're holding back as the feminine, that's the time to look at yourself in this example of like, that's what I need to tune into.
Mm.
What am I doing to cause this intimacy block?
Mm.
Let's go deeper there.
Well, it's a really hard question, right? Isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's triggering as hell. But usually I find, especially like if you are a woman who does have quite powerful masculine energy as well, and all of these boundaries type things start coming up, like that's not up to my standard. And as soon as if you've got that kind of masculine energy inside of you, you're quite quick to point the finger. And so as soon as you've pointed that finger, like he's not manly enough, then all you can do is focus on he's not manly enough, and you're putting all of the blame on him. But actually, you're the one in that moment who is shutting yourself off. And so, yeah, it takes those moments to go inward. Like, why is it unsafe for me right now to be more expressive with this guy? Because sometimes it can actually just be super refreshing to just have an open conversation about that, of what is actually going on. Because a lot of the time, even if it is leadership, there might be something that isn't, when it comes to like his masculine leadership, it might actually be something completely different that you're holding back. Like, are you actually not being truly feminine? Are you being too masculine right now? That's what I had to ask myself. I was like, fuck, yeah. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to swear. I was like,
We've already said unfuckable like 17
okay.
times. So here we go, Roz. Let's not hold back. Let's express
Okay.
ourselves and have an open conversation.
And I was like, fuck, yeah, I'm being masculine right now. Of course, there is going to be less connection right now because I'm being in masculine energy. I need to be able to soften more in feminine energy. And so I think that's also very, what's the word? Highlighting or help you identify some of the things that are going on for you, and also about what it is that you need going forward. Because the feminine energy, what she wants to do in a relationship is she wants to soften, and she wants to lean back, and she wants to hand over all of the driving and everything to the man, because she trusts his leadership. And like, even for me, when I go to restaurants, I hate reading menus. I hate it. Like, I want a man to read it for me, or pick something for me, sorry. And so this is what I desire. This is what I want to do in my feminine energy. And so if you then let yourself go into feminine energy, is that going to be uncomfortable for you? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining this very well.
Yeah, talk about that uncomfortable feeling a little bit more.
If it's difficult for you to be if it's uncomfortable for you to be in feminine energy around this person, that's probably where the issue is. So if you're in your masculine energy being like, this man is not masculine enough, he needs to reach up to my standards, that's where there's some work that needs to be done. That's when you want to shift into feminine energy of being able to soften and surrender and just let go, let him take the lead. But if it feels uncomfortable being there in feminine energy, that's probably where there's going to be a little bit of a mismatch in the connection.
Got it. Yeah, that resonates with me a lot. I spoke earlier about the reflection in the mirror on my relationships in my 30s being so on purpose, you know, and building up my personal training business to, within the 14 months, to be able to live off of it. You know, support my daughter and support my portion of the household, you know, because we weren't married, we were just living together. And I brought to the table a purpose and a direction, you know, debt free with a savings account and a plan for the future.
Wow.
And that's why the mountain attracted the storm, right? Or the chaos, or the wind blowing the clouds across the top of the mountain. And then why this conversation resonates with me now, fast forward 10 years, is the short dating experience I had last fall that I mentioned occasionally on the podcast, but now it's part of the context. So this intimacy block and this conversation around that really resonates with me, because that was a challenge there, of the polarity between the masculine and the feminine. You know, I made time for one day a week, but I understood that my purpose was out there, and I was still seeking it. I was still hunting my purpose. And so I was only available one day a week.
And that's hell for a man. I mean, it's hell for a woman. Like, I was purposeless for a long time, but a man without purpose that's painful.
But I was still chasing it. I was still seeing it. I still had the purpose. I just needed a period of rest. And when I took that period of rest, one of my favorite clients, he's still with me almost a year later. You know, September is our anniversary date. Okay, so September, I found this client as a referral from another personal trainer who couldn't work with him anymore. And that personal trainer knew my purpose. And he's like, you're the perfect fit. Go work with him. You know, can't even talk about the revenue that I've earned in the last year because of that referral. But that gave my purpose life again. Okay, well, that's 3 mornings a week at 6 a.m. Now I'm not available the night before. Okay, puts a little bit of space and a little bit of distance between my masculine energy centered on that purpose and the feminine energy that was uncomfortable for that partner at the time. I knew it. Right. Okay, so I spent 2 months with this new client, fulfilling my purpose, renewing my purpose. And then another client, a professional soccer athlete, came to me and he said, Dave, I want to work with you. You know, my purpose was to pour into him 5 days a week immediately after I finished with the other client. Okay, so now my mornings are full. Now I'm on purpose again. You know what? He just had his first career shutout as a professional soccer goalie this past week. And I had influence based from my purpose on that.
Divine in the house.
Right? He had 2 of the most phenomenal saves that an 18-year-old goalie as a professional can have. You know, soccer is more popular in Europe than it is here in the States, but his saves made like the highlight reel of the team page on social media. The team is rallying around this 18-year-old kid that my purpose poured into.
And that's like for humanity, right? That purpose. It's not just about you and supporting your family, like the immediate purpose, like that spreads out further than just you and the footballer. Like that goes beyond, and that amplifies purpose. Like that's even more of a drive for the masculine to like hunt that down and channel his energy into that. One thing I will say though, as a woman, like if you are a man who is deeply driven by a purpose, we celebrate you for that, and we can celebrate you harder in your successes if when you are with us you are more present in the moment, and so making the time that you do spend with us even more special, because if it all comes down to those moments that you do spend with her and how much like you show her that you value her, that you appreciate her, that you see that what that unique expression is of her. Like maybe she's an incredible artist and you see that, you see how like she is this beautiful artist with a rare ability, and you nurture that and you pour love onto that and you help her expand. And that doesn't mean that you need to be around her 24/7 to be able to do that. Even if it's a long distance relationship, a woman will still feel that, you know? So I think as long as like we will support you fully 100% in your purpose and trust you and give you the admiration that you desire, but in return, like what we need to be able to pour that onto you is you being truly present with us, being there, no phones, nothing like that, being truly present and making us feel special. That's what the feminine wants, right? She wants to be taken care of. She wants to be seen and heard. She wants to be appreciated. She wants to feel like she is something fucking special. If you can do that, we support you all the fucking way in your career, all the way.
Well said, Roz. Thank you so very much for like summing it all up there, because that's a reality check for me of how do I stay most present in the moment, you know, so that it lasts longer. And tell us really quickly what 2 programs you're working on right now that people can join. I know there's a feminine and a masculine version, so just really quickly wrap it up there.
Well, at the moment, it's largely one-on-one. So I'll be taking on a few new clients now. So do message me if you want to, if there's availability. We've just launched a men's masterclass about intimacy. So everything that you need to know about creating that deep emotional connection with a woman, even when it comes to the bedroom, like being a complete sex god. The program was an absolute raving success, and I'm super proud of it. So you can get access to the replay for that. And hopefully soon there'll be a female version of that coming out too.
Well, I'm super proud of the work that you've been doing, and thank you so much for coming back and spending the time with me.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate our conversations every time.
Me too.